Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. Anyone here for the first time? As you're here for the first time, what brings you here? A friend. What did you get a warning on what you were coming to, or what was? You did? She knows me too well. She tell you I'd probably call on you also and prepare you, everything? She tell you what you have to do? No? Not much of a preparation. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. What else? I saw another hand, which is probably afraid to go up now. Yeah. What brings you here?
Meditation and exploring, understanding more about Buddhism.
Yeah. What do you think Buddhism can do for you?
I'm hoping for inner peace. Probably.
Yeah. That's it. Just complete inner peace. All of it. That's it. Just start small. It's almost always the same answer. Inner peace. Isn't that a crazy thing that we think like Buddhist? I mean, Buddhism was some dude talked 2,500 years ago for 45 years, and then he died. And here we are 2,500 years later thinking that that stuff that he said is going to bring us inner peace. And that's kind of ridiculous in a way. I mean, he's dead, right? He's gone. As I always say, he can't fix you, save you, heal you, or help you. He is long since passed. So where are we going to get this inner peace thing from? I mean, is it like, off the shelf? Where does it come from? Ultimately, within you. Within. And so Buddhism, in essence, becomes what?
An inward journey.
Say again?
An inward journey.
An inward journey, that's where it's pointing to, yes. And so what is pointing to that? What is Buddhism, in essence?
Mirror.
There we go, mirror. Who said that? Bonus points for you. There you go, Nick. Nice work. Bonus points. After 7 years, somebody's paying attention. Yeah, I started doing that on Sunday a little more, like actually letting them tell me what the Heart Sutra is instead of me telling them what it is. I mean, none of us know what it is anyway, so it's a pretty safe class to do that in. But it is. It's just a mirror, and it's always the common answer of, some variation of we're looking for inner peace. And ultimately, as I always say, it's a mirror. It's a reflection. It's a tool. It's medicine. It's something that we have to take and we have to reflect on, and we have to, in essence, really just look within ourselves, because the inner peace only becomes peace when the what that's in us goes away. So if we want inner peace, what do we have? What's inner right now? What is there right now? Say again? Angst. I thought you said a beast. The inner beast. The angst, and what else? Desire. Suffering. Craving. So whatever that is that's inner for you right now, that's what we're working on transforming. But in order to transform something, you have to do what with it?
Become aware of it.
Become aware of it, get to know it, look at it, listen to it, pay attention to it. And if the inner stuff is angst and suffering and desire and whatever that inner stuff is, if that inner stuff is what's there that's stopping us from being and having, I should say, inner peace, then we have to look at that. And how much fun is it to look at all that madness that's within us? Not fun. But for those who are newer to this practice, or maybe potentially brand new, that's always step one, is really looking at what is that inner stuff that is stopping the inner peace. Because the inner peace, it's already there. It's already there. You don't add it into your life. It's inside you. And in essence, all we're doing, the example I always give is that when there's a cloudy day like today, a little bit cloudy, right? So is the sun there? Yeah. Can't see it because it's covered by the clouds. So once the clouds part, then you see the sun. So in Buddhism, we call that sun bodhicitta, Buddha nature. The sun is always there. That inner peace is always there. But it's being blocked by the clouds. And the clouds in Buddhism are the three poisons, as an example: greed, anger, ignorance. our craving, our desire, our ego, our attachments, all the things that keep us from waking up to the inner peace. And so, 9 out of 10 times when I ask what brings people to Buddhism, they say inner peace, as if it's something that they're going to get and put in them. And it's really important to understand it's already there, which actually makes it a lot easier because you already have it. You don't even need to stay now. You've already, you got it. You're done. The rest of us keep thinking we're going to get it or something like that. But yeah, so it's waking up to that bodhicitta, that Buddha nature. And the crazy thing is, it's the same thing every day. And for some, with the practice of meditation in Buddhism, one of the hindrances that people have in their minds, in my experience, is that people are not always okay with that. Meaning, very often people come into this practice wanting that solution, wanting that answer, wanting to be told exactly what it is. And if you're going to spend your life exploring the nature of your heart and the nature of your mind, that takes time. That takes patience. That takes diligence. That takes effort. And a lot of people don't want that. We want the quick fix. We want to be better now. And this stuff will not make you better now. So if you're good to explore this for the next 3 years, you might eventually get there, but this stuff is going to take a while. I often talk about, and then we'll do meditation, I always talk about how early on, this practice actually makes your life a little more difficult, because kind of that ignorance is bliss idea of just cruising along, thinking everything's fine, that if we just buy what we want and live what we want and have the relationship we want and get what we want, if we just get all of that, then everything's going to be fine. And this practice helps you realize that none of that is or isn't the problem. The problem is us. So if you came here willing to accept and admit that all the suffering and misery in your life is because of you, then you are at the right place. And that's not fun. So, so we'll learn to sit with that. To those who are joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. Feel free to say hello, introduce yourself if you'd like. With the meditation practice, a couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working? Is it not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. If you can leave those open in the back there, we really want those all open, at least the ones that just got closed. Thanks. Sorry. I can't see who that is, so I don't feel bad yelling at you. You can let me know after who it is, but the glare is there. But yeah, we like the air. You're not going to shut off your mind. Your mind will not stop racing. You will not think nothing. Your mind will continue to race. I'll say things periodically just to remind you that you're lost in thought. I'll bring you back to present moment. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, help slide into the front third. However you're seated, relaxing the shoulders, hands can be on the knees or lap, whatever works for you. That will guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. Most important, do not expect anything. We're just going to sit and breathe. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed, whatever's comfortable. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Going throughout the practice, you'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. These are not distractions, not disruptions. Simply what's happening around us as we sit. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from your practice. You're just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation. Yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe, knowing with each breath there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. The most important with the practice of meditation is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. Realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, it's not from anything I said. It's not from how we sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's not from the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in and where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens. More reactions. That's it. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. This practice is not necessarily easy. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. It is direct perception into the present moment. And the present moment is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulty, challenges. That's what we get. This practice is learning to be with life as it arises and not run from it. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do in every moment. And that's it. That never changes. We spend so much time trying to fix and change and control, manipulate everything and everyone around us. Hoping they do this, hoping they do that, wishing they would do this, wishing they would do that. So much of our lives are spent focused on what other people do. And this practice is not ignoring what other people do. It's not closing your eyes to what's going on in the world. It's not seeing all the pain and suffering and ignoring it. But that comes after we begin to see what's our role in all of this. What are our thoughts, our words, and our actions? And when we can interact from a place of loving kindness and compassion instead of anger and hatred, then we can bring that into the world and begin to make change from that place. But if you're trying to make change from a place of anger and hatred, you're just bringing more anger and hatred into places that already have enough. And so that's, again, why this practice is difficult, because it's an opportunity and a space to stop for a minute, pointing the finger and blame at everyone else that's doing everything that you don't like. Believe it or not, there's somebody out there right now pointing the finger at you. You're doing the things they don't like. Somewhere else, people are sitting in some other meditation, yoga, spiritual class, and they're there because of you. So I'll pause there. For me, I always prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. For those joining virtually, again, glad you're here. Feel free to say hello. If you have any questions, put them on the chat box. I'll do my best to respond. And I'll open up to questions around meditation or Buddhism for the rest of our brief time together.
Question about the mind. Really becoming aware of my mind is very dualistic, always one or the other, and especially when needing to make a choice. Sometimes I find that I feel conflicted, it gives an indecision, or so how can I bypass the whole dualistic, get to a place of more clarity? Is there a way, or not really?
Yeah, there's a way, you're just not doing it. Even in the way you asked your question, you want to just bypass it. Like, let's just cut out the entire nature of our reality is what you basically. So let me paraphrase the question for those at home who didn't hear it, or wherever you are, if you didn't hear it. Your question was, your mind is filled with this kind of duality, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And you asked, when it comes to making decisions, that there's a way that you can just bypass the dualistic mind and make decisions without that, and is there a way? There is a way. I mean, that's the essence of the Buddhist teachings, is to recognize nature of reality beyond our dualistic mind. But that is all of the Buddhist teachings as to how to get there. You can't just cut that out. It starts with the attachment to self that says, I am most important. Have you ever woken up and said, the rest of the world, every person in the rest of the world is equally as important as I am? Have you ever said that once? No, then you will never do what you want to do. It requires tremendous patience. It's what I spoke about at the beginning. This practice requires tremendous patience and diligence, which is why it's not for everybody. I'm not talking to you. I already know what this has done for your life. So it's just a general statement that Buddhist teachings and practice is really difficult, because we begin to see, wait a minute, I do think the world revolves around me. I do think that that's the reason there's so much conflict in my life. I do think that maybe I should change and consider other people's opinions and views equally as important as mine. The world's not ready for that stuff. In fact, when the Buddha awakened, without getting into the whole long story, sat under the Bodhi tree 21 days, and he had the awakening and understood the Four Noble Truths, that all suffering comes from the nature of our mind. Basic Buddhist teachings, Four Noble Truths, life is filled with suffering. Doesn't mean all of life sucks, it just means you're going to suffer a lot. Most people, if you ended up here on a Saturday at 11 o'clock, you've already embraced that concept. The second thing is the cause. 3 poisons: greed, anger, ignorance. We overcome that with generosity, compassion, and wisdom. The third is the ending of suffering, nirvana, liberation, freedom from suffering. And the fourth is the path. Eightfold Path. Correct views, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. All of that is on Google for free. And the Buddha taught that 84,000 different ways, as they say, for 45 years until he died. He taught the Four Noble Truths, the fourth being the Eightfold Path. That is the path. But what that starts with, or what I was starting to say is, when he had that awakening, it said that he didn't want to go teach because he thought nobody would understand this stuff. And he was just a human. He wasn't a god. He wasn't trying to command people of it. He just was some dude. And the story is that Brahma, the Hindu god, came down and said, there are people with little dust in their eyes, go teach. Some will understand. And when I kind of translate that teaching for me in my life today as a practitioner and sharing the Dharma, I understand that this stuff is not for everybody. Not everybody's really willing to look at the dust that's in their eyes. And that dust includes, back to your question, recognizing that you wake up every day and you think you are more important than everybody else. And as long as you start there, you're always going to have a dualistic mind. Now, I'm not, forget those who don't know me, have never, heard this stuff. This is not a judgment. I'm not attacking you. So I'm not saying you're a bad person or a bad Buddhist or failing at this practice for waking up and thinking that you're the most important thing in the world. That's what we all do, for the most part. I mean, how wonderful is it to sit in a room of everybody who thinks they're the most important person in the world? They're all right here. Show of hands, did anyone wake up today thinking that other people are equal as more important than they are? I just didn't want you to feel alone. Right? So we're all there. So your question very directly is, as long as you think you are most important, you will always have a dualistic mind which says me versus you, good versus bad, right versus wrong. And it ultimately comes back to you wanting to control every situation so it benefits your views. Simple enough? Yeah. Go ahead.
I had a situation recently where I caused somebody a lot of pain. And, obviously, a lot of remorse, apologize, and then to that end, trying to do so much to fix it for my own pain as opposed to giving them the space to heal has been a huge challenge.
Yes. Yeah. So the question, for those who didn't hear it, was recently you did something, caused somebody a lot of pain, and the feeling that you've done the apologies, you felt the remorse. And I think the last part you said was you're having difficulty because you're trying to give them the space to deal with the pain.
That's so much to try to fix
with
them, but then just for my own pain, really, it's very selfish.
Yeah.
It gets in the way of giving them the space they need.
Yeah, so the last part was you're finding yourself wanting to fix them for your own selfishness, for everything to be okay without giving them the space they need. I often share a story where years ago, there was a woman who came in one night, it's probably 7-8 years ago, and she was sitting right over here. And she came in, you could tell she was really irritated, agitated, in a bad mood. And her comment was, in essence, she said, I just got into an argument, fight with my wife, and I'm really upset. How can I feel better? And I said, well, did you do something to harm her? And she said, yes. I was like, well, wait a minute. Why do you immediately want to feel better? You did something that harmed her, and all you're worried about is you. So I have nothing to share with you other than where you're at. Sounds beautiful. Yes, it is difficult. Yes, you're giving space. Yes, you want to feel better. Yes, that sucks. Yes, you did something you shouldn't have done. Don't do that. Like, as you know, Buddhism doesn't solve things. It doesn't fix things. It doesn't have the answers. It is the mirror. The mirror says, I did something wrong. I feel like crap. I need to give them space. That's on me. And I need to sit with this as long as I need to sit with this. Absolutely. There's no question really in what you said either. But there's no question, there's no answer. There's the reality that, yes, this is the mirror, the reflection that says this sucks. And you know how long you're going to have to sit with that? as long as it takes, and maybe the rest of your life. And ultimately, you'll reach a point where you can say, okay, you can torment yourself and torture yourself for hating yourself and hate yourself for what you did. Or what I was always taught, recognize what you did was wrong, not in line with these teachings, this practice. Apologize, which you've already done, and genuinely, which I'm guessing from your expressions, you were very genuine with your apologies, and vow not to do it again. 3 steps: own it, apologize genuinely, and vow not to do it again. Because can you change it? What you did? No. And just because we own it and apologize and vow not to do it again does not take the pain and suffering away from the other person or people. And that's the harsh reality that we often have to carry with us our whole lives. And can we carry that without hating ourselves? And this is where self-compassion comes in. That says we're just human. Unenlightened people will do unenlightened things. And that's what we do. We cause pain and suffering in others. And it's not right. But it happens. Every one of us has done it. And will continue to do it. So use that as motivation to not do it again. Yeah. And don't hate yourself. What else? Yeah.
First time here. This is great.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Oh, I see that now.
Yeah, it's,
Sorry, the hair. Yeah. Actually, it was the smile. You said the hair.
That's it. I'm thinking about ways to manage, maybe not at all, the expectations I would have of important people in my life,
Yeah.
and maybe to not have expectations, but how to get there, but also to maintain a healthy relationship with those people in my life.
Yeah.
Without it becoming a sense of turning away or keeping them in my life because they're important to me.
Yeah. No, great question. To paraphrase those who didn't hear, first you said, thanks, Dad, for bringing me here. This is great. I just wanted those virtually to hear that, you know. How many years did it take for him to get you here?
Well, I don't live here, so.
Oh, okay. All right. You're off the hook.
Right on that one.
All right. So your comment question was around expectations that you have for others. It's just funny too, because even in the way you asked the question, you like fifth word out of your mouth was in essence, maybe I shouldn't have them. So it's like you already kind of see that. But what your question is around, you know, the expectations you have for other people that are important in your life. How do you kind of work with those, manage those, and not allow them to kind of this balance and shut you out or ruin relationships, things like that. So just general around expectations. In Buddhism, we call it non-attachment. The Buddhist teaching on non-attachment. You'll often hear, and every time someone says it, I correct them, it's not detach, it's not unattached, it's not a severing, it's not cutting off. Non-attachment is love. People often say, or they often think when they hear the teaching or hear the words non-attachment, that it means that you don't care. I'll start with this. And non-attachment does not mean you don't care. Non-attachment is absolute love. Without expectations, without control, without manipulation, without craving a desire for them to be a certain way, but loving them for who and how they are, exactly for who and how they are. Also knowing that their behavior and actions can influence us. And there's nothing in Buddhism, you know, this is kind of my asterisk always, that if we're in situations that are toxic, unhealthy, physically, mentally, emotionally abused, things like that, safety is important. There's no Buddhist teaching, this is just for everyone, as always, but there's no Buddhist teaching that says, well, I'm Buddhist, so you can abuse me, that's okay. No, it's not okay. We remove ourselves from those situations. So non-attachment doesn't mean you don't care, but you're understanding this is abusive. I love you and all, but I'm out of here, right? That's fully acceptable and okay too. Buddhism is not a doormat. But with that being said, this idea of non-attachment and expectations, my first teacher always said, the practice is to not expect anything from anyone ever. If you don't have expectations of people, and this is really difficult, especially if you've never heard this before. If you don't have expectations of people, what does that mean you're never going to be? Angry, disappointed, and angry. Yeah. You're not going to be disappointed. How much of our lives do we spend being disappointed in others and ourselves? It all starts with ourselves. See, sadly, it comes back to us and the Buddhist teachings around non-self, but we'll hold on to that for a minute. We're here We're just here differently from how we perceive ourselves to be. We have these grand expectations of ourselves and our lives and our plans and our goals and aspirations. And then we drop that on somebody else, family members, loved ones, parents, kids, strangers, whatever. We have an expectation for how people should drive. You have an expectation. Sorry, I shouldn't say you, because maybe somebody, I love the driving ones, always trigger you. Maybe I shouldn't say you have, but we have expectations of how complete strangers should drive. And everybody can justify that, well, there's laws and there's rules and there's speed limits. Yes, and that's all there to keep us safe. I understand that. But we have expectations of how every single stranger in some piece of machinery should drive. And it ruins our day. And yet when it's things that matter and are important and loved ones and family, we don't know how to deal with those expectations. Because those things matter, right? We are also the traffic. A lot of Buddhist teachers talk about this, that we are the traffic that we are so angry at, that's bothering us, that's in our way. We are that traffic. We are in somebody's way. Someone is behind us, pissed off at us. And so the first thing about not having expectations is to understand that, what's your name? Sorry. Michael. Have you ever harmed anyone?
I'm sure I have.
Come on, don't say I'm sure. Just own it 100%.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, you've harmed someone. You're human. Have you done things you shouldn't have done? Absolutely. Have you disappointed other people? Absolutely. We all have. That's our life. So do others. And so the first part is to understand that we have harmed, we have held ourselves to these high expectations. We don't like other people having expectations of us typically, but yet for some reason we drop that on others. And then we build up anger, we build up resentment, we build up hatred, walls come up, and then there's almost no way to communicate through that. And so the challenge first and foremost is to send compassion to those that you are having expectations for. When you have done things that harm someone, Michael, it most likely was because you were suffering. You didn't wake up in a good mood one day probably and be like, yo, life is great. I'm just going to go make a bunch of people angry. You were hurting. You were sad. You were whatever, bothered. And so then you did things that hurt other people. So when other people do things that are hurting you or hurting family or hurting situations that are not meeting your expectations, it's because they're hurting. And so compassion and wisdom says, can I listen to their pain? Can I understand their pain? Can I feel what they're feeling as much as possible? And to have that empathy is really important, and it begins to soften these expectations. Now, again, unhealthy situations, toxic situations, sometimes it's, again, I'm not even talking to you, just in general. Sometimes it's, okay, I'm done, pull the plug. And sometimes it's a matter of us having to do the work of recognizing their pain and suffering is why they're not meeting my expectation. And again, if we drop the expectation completely, it doesn't mean what they're doing is healthy or good, but at least they're not failing at meeting your expectation. It's our fault for dropping expectations on people, So if nothing else, when the expectation goes away, then you can actually face what's really happening, which is humans suffering. Yeah. There's a question here from Cinda. Hi, Jeff. We can never be certain of anything except death. Did the Buddha have thoughts about how we can learn to become more comfortable with uncertainty in day-to-day life? Yeah, so a couple things around this. As the Buddha taught, the only things that we're guaranteed with this birth is aging. So we can be certain that we're going to age. Years ago, I used to say old age, but many people don't get old. But we will age. We will get sick. The body will fail us at some point in time. And we will die. So the Buddha said that's what we get: aging, sickness, and death. Now, for those who are brand new to Buddhism and think that sounds so miserable and depressing, right? It's like years ago, a friend of mine opened up a Buddhist book and he said the first page said life is suffering. It's like, well, that sounds miserable. And then 20 years later, after living tons of suffering, he turned to page 2 and realized there is a path out of this suffering. So it's not that all of life sucks. It just means, yes, your life is going to have a lot of suffering in it. But what he said is you're guaranteed birth, or when you're born, you're guaranteed to age, you're guaranteed to get sick, and you're guaranteed to die. So how do you find joy and happiness within all of that? How do you find that inner peace that everybody is searching for, happiness, whatever it is? And part of it is to embrace and implement Buddhist teachings around impermanence. A couple things here. Everything comes together for a period of time, and ceases to exist. All conditioned phenomena come together for a period of time and ceases to exist. Every person, place, and thing in your life right now, from the shirt you're wearing to the, everything will be gone at some point in time. People, places, and things. So if we start by having gratitude, uncertainty has a lot to do with wanting to control what happens in the future, which is ridiculous because we don't even know that we're all going to make it outside of this building alive today. We think that way, right? We think, who parks in the parking lot across the street? You think your car is going to be there when you get out? All the signs say, don't park there. Yet week in and week out, you all think your car is going to be there. Maybe one day after 8 years, the city finally says we are towing all of those vehicles. But you're so certain that your car is there. You're so certain that you're going to get the next X amount of years of your life. Just be grateful that you have this moment, this day, this opportunity. Uncertainty, everything is uncertain. Everything. People often tie uncertainty to like grand things, around like relationships and jobs and life. Your ability to, whatever you can do right now is uncertain. Every moment, your entire day is uncertain. So the practice is to have gratitude and appreciation for everything you have in each moment. That is the practice. That never changes. Can we be grateful for what we have? And if your car is gone, can you be grateful for the fact that it got you here? Or are you just going to be pissed off that now it's gone? At least you were here to learn the lesson that your car might be gone at some point. And the second piece to this, which is, not necessarily so pretty or pleasant, but your very direct question around, did the Buddha have thoughts about how we can learn to become more comfortable with uncertainty? She just responded, I'm grateful my Wi-Fi works to hear that answer. So exactly, are we grateful for the little things, right? But the second piece to this is a lot of people, especially in a modern Western day, right? We want to get into meditation. We want to, like everything. You got to go to some spa and you got to have all the bells and whistles. And, it's like we turned meditation into like this, like bubble bath, right? Meditation is direct perception into the present moment. It's not an escape. Meditation is to help us to become present and aware of this moment because it will pass and we will be gone. The Buddha would take the disciples to the charnel grounds to meditate on decomposing bodies, right? Most people in Western culture, when we think about meditation, we're not thinking about meditating on the impermanence of the physical body, right? There are meditations for that, and that really comes from the Buddhist teachings. But he took them to charnel grounds to see these bodies decomposing, to tell them, this is you, folks. Every moment, you are one moment closer to becoming this decomposed body. Again, I know that doesn't sound pretty or pleasant, and none of you are probably going to go do that meditation because you all want your pretty little bubbles. Life's not a bubble bath. And the sooner you embrace that, then the sooner your life becomes a bubble bath. Everything can be that way. But if you spend your life wanting not just expectations for others that we love and care for, but with everything, we have these expectations all day long. And they're never met. And then you wonder why you're miserable and sad and stressed and anxious and depressed. Stress, anger, anxiety, sadness, depression only exist because your needs are not getting met. That's it. Drop all these lofty needs that we think we need, and you're golden. But that's not good enough for us. So when you meditate, to me, that's why early on, I used to use an incense stick, and as it burned, I had somebody tell me once that the burning incense stick is like us. Like once you light it, and as you watch it burn, that's us. We are alive. We've been lit, and every moment we are one moment closer, one breath closer to becoming ash. So all the resentments, all the hatred, all the anger, all the stuff you're holding on to for the last 30 years, like how is that serving you, helping you right now? So yeah, he had a lot of thoughts about it. What else? We'll do one more before we close, I think. Yeah.
So how do we reconcile what sounds like the expectation of like being treated safely and reasonably with not having expectations of people? Like how would I start trying to reconcile those? Because it sounds like we're having an expectation from somebody about how we'll be treated. But at the same time, we're not supposed to have an expectation. So how do I start merging that or seeing that?
Let me just kind of throw back to what you said so I understand you correctly. Are you asking about how to close? So you're saying the practice, and what I'm sharing is in essence to drop expectations, and you're saying you have expectations. How do you close that gap?
Yes, and the example would be the expectation of somebody not punching me in the face, or
Yeah.
somebody not verbally abusing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I'll give you a couple examples. My favorite, right? And I'll close with this, I think. Let me say this first, because once I start talking, I might forget. Even if you, no, I'm not going to say this. All right, so here's the examples. I share these often. I think I talked about it last either Tuesday or I don't know, Saturday maybe. But I have two kind of games that I like to share. Because what you're talking about, I mean, you gave the example of not being punched in the face, but in essence, you probably don't roam around on the street all day long worried that somebody's going to come up and punch you in the face, right? Now, somebody who doesn't have the privilege that you have might feel that way or might feel less safe, right? But you probably don't have that. But there are other expectations and fears and worries that you have throughout your day around use like safety, stability, comfort, things like that, right? So simple things. First practice, you wear socks. Yes, and you can all try this at home. And please, I will ask all of you for your homework assignment next Saturday or whenever you're here next. You wear socks. Do you have a sock drawer?
Yeah.
Are all your socks black?
No.
Perfect, because if they were, you would be terrible for this. Do you fold your socks, roll your socks, or are they just randomly thrown in your drawer?
Folded.
Okay, so here's your practice. You're going to go home today when we're done here, whenever you get home. If your car's still there and you get home, go in your sock drawer and just unroll all your socks, right? And just throw them scattered in your drawer. And then next time you get ready to go for your day, you go to grab socks, grab 2 socks without looking at them. Close your eyes, grab 2 socks. They don't match, whatever they are, and wear them. And not to where they're like fully covered, kind of in a way that people might see them. The point is to make you feel uncomfortable. Now, if I was doing this with like an 18-year-old, they don't care because that's like cool these days, I guess. But mismatched socks, and you're going to wear them all day to the point where people see them and they're going to be looking at you, be like, dude, why are you wearing the wrong socks? Or even 2 different shoes you could do it with too. But the idea is that I can tell from your expression. I've been using this dumb example a long time. This is going to be difficult for you.
Yeah.
It is.
Just unfolding my socks and mixing them is going to be difficult. But yes.
So you are a control freak. Yeah. Oh no, I mean, I know I know this. This is why I know this stuff so well. I'm not pointing fingers. I am this. I get it. How do you think I got into this practice? Right? Years of that. It's torture. It's hell. Everything has to be in a certain place, aligned a certain way, in a certain area, because we think it's organized in need, which it borders on just our crazy effort to try to control everything, including people. It starts with socks. The challenge is, like you said, unraveling the socks is going to be difficult for you. It'll get your heart rate up. It'll give you anxiety, probably, right? And you're going to sit with that for a little bit. And then you're going to go put the socks on and you're going to try this. You want, not you, but the collective you, we want to know, how do we deal with letting go of expectations and control over important people and places and things? Horrific things going on in the world that we want to fix and change. And we should work our butts off to fix and change them, but we can't control them. Yet, we're so afraid of wearing socks that don't match. So the question is, how do you close that gap? How do you get there? You practice by doing other little things that are really challenging you on the same level, same kind of emotional responses, but are meaningless. The second example is with food, right? So go to a restaurant, wherever you eat, whatever it is. Say your budget is $10, $20, whatever it is, whatever dietary restrictions you have. If you're gluten-free, if you're vegetarian, if you only eat steak, whatever your meal stuff is, go into a place, whether you're at a counter or a restaurant, they come to take your order, you go to take your order and you say, I have $15, I want anything on the menu that is gluten-free and has steak, right? Whatever your preference is. And then whatever they give you, eat it. Rule out your allergies or anything that's going to mess you up or kill you if you have allergies. But we're so entitled. My money, my food, I need what I want. It starts with food, with clothes. Advertising, billions of dollars spent telling us what to wear, where to shop, where to go, who we should look like, what cars we should drive, right? Everything is spent geared, and we think we're so free to make choices. Sorry, folks. The Matrix, you have been preloaded and filled with nonsense in your head our entire lives, telling us what to think, where to go, who to spend time with, what's cool, what's not cool, what's good, what's not good. And we think we're so free. We're so stuck. This practice is breaking out of that. And it starts with letting go of control over our sucks and what food we get to eat. You can still enjoy and eat any food you want. This isn't about like ruining your joy the rest of your life. But it's showing you, if nothing else, how difficult it's going to be to actually just appreciate a meal. How difficult it's going to be to actually just appreciate that you have socks, you know? So next week.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit be transferred to those who need it most. All right, so we have two new Dharma Bum hosts on Saturdays. This is Ann and Juan. Do you want to stand up so I can embarrass you as well? Two new Dharma Bum hosts. So Ann will do the announcement today. Thank you.
Skip the first line.
There you go.
My name
There
is.
you go. Sorry.
Okay, we opened the Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted on the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it, then bring it back whenever you are done. Today is also temple cleaning day, and so you are welcome to stay and help for that. Please straighten your seat or cushions before you head out. If a few people could stay and close and latch the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope to see you all again.
Thanks, Ann. Tiffany, you're leading, right? Where do you want people to circle up or meet you? Okay, so that's Tiffany right there. Can you put your hand up? Tiffany is leading the temple cleaning day, which is once a month now. So for the next 2 hours, anyone who wants to stick around for 20 minutes or 2 hours, we're going to clean everything. So Tiffany will be in the back there or downstairs in the kitchen. So thank you all. Thank you. Oh.